Hello, everybody. This is me bringing you some breaking news of what has occurred this afternoon. Um, it's now all over NFL Network. It's all over Fox, FS Sports or Fox, if you may call it. ESPN, all of the outlets and social media that head coach Doug Peterson has been fired. You heard me right. Doug Peterson has been fired from the Philadelphia Eagles this afternoon, which has been now approximately 7 or 8 hours ago. Prior to me making the video, um, it was just some indication that Doug Peterson did some things that shouldn't have been done in the last 3 seasons of his head coaching career at the Philadelphia Eagles. Back to back 97 seasons. And then this year alone, the Eagles finished 4, 4, 12, no, 4-11, 4-11 and 1. 4-11 and 1. Um, Dale Peterson and probably the Eagles. Dale Peterson is the third coach to have a tie with the Philadelphia Eagles. Him, Andy Reid, and then Ray Rhodes. Um, was supposed to have broke the camel's back if that Doug Peterson wanted to make Preston Taylor the quarterback coach, the offensive coordinator. So that might be what ended his career as coach of the Eagles, or it might have been to a point that where back to back meetings. He had a meeting a couple of days ago, I believe. I think it was the weekend, or might have been sometime last week, and he had a meeting today with Jeffrey Lurie, and they probably wanted to ask him questions about what he's going to do with the future of the Eagles. And I guess Jeffrey Lurie didn't like what he said, so it might have been to a point where he might have mentioned Preston Taylor as the offensive coordinator. So don't be too surprised if Preston Taylor is also gone from the team. And the only mainstays on offense and probably going to wind up being the offensive line coach, um, Jeff Stoutland, and Duke still the running backs coach, assistant head coach, running backs coach. Them two guys might be the only two mainstays on offense. Everybody else probably going to exit. And on defense, I'm not exactly sure who's going to remain on defense. Probably the defensive lines coach. I forgot the boy name. He might wind up staying, and they might let some more guys on defense on defensive court on defensive coaching staff go. So, a lot to be done, a lot to be said going forward into this new season, because we all know March is the new league year, where all the owners go to Miami for their annual meetings. But with the COVID-19, that might not happen. So it might be a virtual meeting with all 32 teams of the NFL doing their 32 things, doing their virtual meeting online instead of being face to face. Now, if they do go face to face, expect to be some distances, and might be a minimum of coaches, a minimum of owners being at the meetings instead of all 32 teams, which it could be divided to two. It could be 16 one day and 16 the other day. They may do it that way. So I don't know. But anyway, the Peterson was released today, and when you're 42, 37, and 1, that's not a bad record, you know what I'm saying? And then I just remember seeing some on video earlier in the video that the Eagles have made a statue of head coach Doug Peterson and Foles. Y'all remember that statue that was made back a couple years, back it made 3 years ago? So I've heard or read some of the comments that Jeffrey Lurie said that he appreciate what Doug Peterson has done for the organization, bringing the team their first Super Bowl, and he also said that whenever Doug Peterson decides to retire, he will be a member of the Eagles Ring of Honor. So all that's fine and dandy, but when you let go, all because the change that you want done, you going to either be done with it or move on. So Doug Peterson probably wanted control, and he probably got tired of Howie Roseman picking players and coaching members for his coaching staff. So whoever the Eagles bring in as head coach, I expect the same thing, which means that they bring in a coach. They don't want to be a member of, be part of the process of bringing in new coaches and bringing in players. So I pray and hope whoever they bring in demands that, because see, Howie Roseman has ruined the Eagles the last 3 seasons of his so-called draft process. The man is not he's not a guru of drafting. The man don't know nothing about talent. You supposed to use the scouting department for the talent, and so with the lack of a scouting staff thereof, and then you leave it for the general manager to do the talent wise, you're ruining your team like that. So I mean, I really don't know what to say about the firing of head coach Pederson. A lot of you guys out there got your wish. You wanted Doug Peterson fired, now you got it. You know what I'm saying? So now, the question is, now what y'all got to say? What do y'all got to say now? It's crazy for you to wish for another man's downfall after he done bought you a Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying?
How was your dinner?
It's okay. And so, with that being said, you leave the coaching to a guy who wants his own coaching. He wanted to remake his own coaching staff. He couldn't do it because he had no power to do it in the first place. So that kind of leave a crack in your back, if you will. And that crack had gotten so big to a point where Doug Peterson had failed completely in it. And now you're left with Howie Roseman, who a lot of people don't like, especially me. You know what I'm saying? And I remember back here a while back, it was Trusting Howie. Now it's called Don't Trust It Howie. Don't trust Howie. And I don't trust him anymore. He lost my trust a couple of years ago, 2018, and when he lost my trust. And because he failed to put talent around Carson Wentz. And so you draft a quarterback in the second round of last year's draft. You kind of telling the quarterback who you owe $125 million to that if you don't get your act together, this guy ain't gonna start and you're gonna be replaced. So that's what Carson Wentz started to think, and so that's why he was looking over his shoulders. Not just that, when you don't put talent around your quarterback, your franchise quarterback, the one you're paying $125 million to, it's gonna hurt you every time, and that's why the result of the record 4-11-1 is the result. The reason why we had a horrible season this year, and now we got the number 6 pick in this year's draft, and it sickens me that Howard Roseman is gonna be the guy that's gonna pick the player for the Philadelphia Eagles. I hope that John Dorsey, be the recipient of being their talent evaluator, because the Dick guy done been to Kansas City and he done been to the Browns, and he just recently left the Browns, and you see how good the Browns are, and you see how good Kansas City is. So the guy knows talent, and I pray and hope that he be the talent evaluator that gonna take over and let Howard Roseman sit back and just do the contracts. And so that's how Howard Roseman pretty much good with contracts, but lately he's been horrible in contract signings, because now we are over 80 million in salary cap, and we got to trim the cap before the new league year, which is in March. And in the process, you can't bring in free agents, because see now, the free agents, whoever you bring in free, they're gonna command $15-20 million or more signing bonuses. So you won't be able to bring in a free agent. That means that you got to depend on your draft picks to win for you, rookies and first year players. and second year players. So that's what you're really concentrating on. That's what you're thinking about, and that's all that we can do. So uh, the Eagles this season, I don't really know what to say because the Cowboys, the Giants, and the Redskins are already ahead of us. Those guys have drafted well in the last 3 of the last 5 seasons, and so when you draft well, you win. And so the Eagles have had 3 of the last 5 years of bad drafting, and you saw the results of that this season: 4-11-1. So I mean, it's so many things that could be said and done about this season because it's bad, and those offense were predictable because the man had no receivers to pass the ball to, so it was like every defense that played, regardless of their ranking, they challenged the Eagles' offensive line. So they actually stopped the run, but they dared the Eagles to pass the ball. And so when you're gonna receive to pass the ball too, you're gonna be the victim of interceptions. You're gonna be the victims of fumbles. You're gonna be the victim of sacks, knockdowns, kicks, and on steps, you're getting hit. That's what you're gonna be a victim of. And so Carson Wentz has been a victim of that all season. And he was the most sacked quarterback at the time with 50 sacks. Now, had he continued the rest of the season, he would have passed. Um, he would have passed Cunningham's all-time sack record of 72 sacks, and that would have been bad. But see, that was a different era then versus this era now because this era here, the defensive line, linebacker, safety, everybody are super fast. They're really, really fast. You know what I'm saying? Because it's all technique wise. It's different from college. See, a lot of people got to look at it and realize the college level is kind of like the training ground for the NFL. So that's why they call it pro college. Sometimes they may say professional college football or pro college football because it's the next level from the NFL. It's kind of like a training ground. And so then when you get to the NFL, you got to learn whole new techniques, um, offensive line blocking, quarterback passing, receivers running routes, running backs coming up the backfield. They got to decide which hole to go through. I mean, all that takes time and practice. And so, uh, also, I'm gonna say it's about Doug. Also, with the COVID-19 virus that has hindered a lot of teams this year, Doug Peterson also was a victim of that. You got to look at that as well because there was no OTAs, there was no training camps, and there was no practice because the thing is, it's called practice, and you got OTAs and you got training camps. It was none of those this season, so um, lack of chemistry thereof. So the Eagles, they were knick-knacking, putting picks and putting players in positions where they shouldn't be on the offensive side of football. Defense this year, they had many injuries. Offensive line did the suffering because they had two guards went out. They had two right tackles went out and a left tackle went out. So that's six. That's basically six players on the offensive line that was first and second string. So the Eagles played more third string this season. The last 4 to 5 games of the season, they played mostly all second string. Second and third string players, and so that hurt quite a bit. And so that's why Wentz was the victim of getting hit, knocked down, sacked, interceptions, and fumbled because the man couldn't see the field. So when you got bull rushers pushing the offensive lineman to the quarterback, you can't see the field because you got to kind of play hero ball. And so that's the other thing too. It wasn't Wentz's fault for playing hero ball. The man tried his best to win games. So, but it's probably half his fault and half not his fault. But majority of the fault goes to the coaching staff because they failed to put players around him. And you also blame the organization too, Howie Roseman wise, for failing to put players around Carson Wentz. So still, you draft a quarterback in the second round of last year's draft. A lot of people really can't get over that, and I can't. And so I can't really think about all the things that had occurred with Hurts coming into the game for the last 5 games of the season, and y'all talk about y'all want to see how well he plays. I gotta admit, the man did pretty well. I'm not gonna knock him for that, but I'm not going to fall to the curve, or better yet, be a part of him. Cause I don't. Because the guy had came out of a, I'm not gonna say a spread offense, but it was more like a up tempo spread offense from Oklahoma. And you got to look at the possibilities of him going to Alabama, which is where his career started. He played the last 2 years at Alabama, and then last 2 seasons in Oklahoma. So he went from a pro style offense to a spread offense in Oklahoma. So right now, Hurst right now is hard to read because you really don't know what you got. Like I said, he only played 4 last 5 games, so you really can't say that he did good or he did splendid. You can't say none of those. He did okay. So, wow. I can't beat Doug Peterson's gone. And I really didn't want him to go. I really wanted him to stay. You know what I'm saying? But everybody got their opinions about Doug and think that he did good or bad for the team. I'm thinking of only the good. Because the reason why the bad is so bad, because like I said, you can only talk about the organization as a whole and for Howard Roseman, because Howard Roseman failed to put a new, pretty good coaching staff around Doug Peterson, and the man was having a lot of talks going into his ears about which plays about which plays that he should suggest to run, and so that will burn you out. So I believe Doug Peterson got burnt out, and I believe he wanted to leave in the first place. And so when they had that meeting, the first meeting, they said it was an argument between him and Lurie, and so they decided to go separate ways for a little minute, and so where both parties can calm down, and so that's why they had this meeting this afternoon to see where Doug's head was. They want to see what he was going to think about as far as how the offense should go. So apparently, Lurie didn't like what he heard from Doug Peterson, so they just had to part ways. I don't think it was an argument this time around. It's just that Doug Peterson probably said something that he probably knew that Jeffrey Lurie wasn't going to go for. So they just had to go. So they just had to go separate ways. And Doug Peterson on NFL Network, from what I just heard, from what I read on the screen, they said that Doug Peterson gave thanks to the city of Philadelphia and to owner Jeffrey Lurie, the coach, and the entire organization for his time in Philadelphia. And he said he didn't really want to say goodbye. He just wanted to say he wished them all the best of luck in a new coaching search. And so that's what he said. And after that, at the end, he made it brief and short. And then Lurie said after that, now that process is completed and a lot of things didn't go well between him and Doug Peterson, so he decided that now it's time for a coaching staff. But I'm gonna tell you something though, with it being January, pretty much midweek of this month, they got between now and after the Super Bowl to hire the new coach and bring in a new coaching staff. And I pray and hope that the new coach, like I said earlier in the video, I pray and hope that the new coach wants some type of control over the coaching staff and over his players. That way he can bring in the right players to keep winning. See, Doug Peterson never had that luxury. So all the power was left over to Howard Roseman and what Howard Roseman wanted to do. And you saw what that led to. So to me, Howard Roseman should have been fired too. But the way it's looking, that might not happen. So I pray and hope that the new guy they brings in want to have some type of control over the coaching staff, the play calling, and the players that he wants to bring in. I'm hoping that comes true, because that's what I want. Because, see, even though Chip Kelly meant well when he decided to take some control away from Howie, he meant well, but he didn't do it the right way. And that's what got him fired. So He got fired because of that, and he also got fired for releasing players that could have won him the Super Bowl, like releasing the Sean McCoy, and also releasing Deshaun Jackson and Foles back then, and then he released a couple. He released at least 3 or 4 different players, or 5 or 6 for that matter, and and you saw the outcome of that. See, Chip Kelly meant well, but he didn't know what he was doing as far as bringing in players because he never had no experience in the NFL. He didn't know how the NFL went. But so now, since he's no longer in the league, he now has a knowledge of the NFL. So maybe at some point he may return, maybe he won't, but who knows? But his style of offense, though, it probably not gonna never be accepted in the NFL again. Maybe some of his techniques and some of his schemes, why? But as far as the play that he run, that probably no longer be allowed in the NFL. But his technique as far as doing eating right and stuff like that, that should have stayed with the Eagles. Eagles got rid of that back a couple of years ago. And they shouldn't have. So that's why a lot of players got hurt. And then not to mention you have to think about the medical staff, because the Eagles for the last 3 years have fired their medical staff and brought in a new staff. So I expect a new medical staff to come in this year as well. So I mean, it is very, very critical for this to actually happen, and I'm still surprised about it. I can't believe it. A lot of people, a lot of folks, like I said, a lot of people are happy about it, but I'm not happy because something didn't go right. Something went wrong, not right. And so, wow. And then you want to make Preston Taylor your offensive coordinator when that should have. That, you know what? I thought about that. He probably mentioned that in Lurie's face, knowing Lurie wasn't going to accept it. So that's why he decided to go, and that's what happened. And that's what I believe. Now I could be wrong, but no one really gonna know the true outcome because none of us went behind closed doors. We don't have Superman's earring to hear what's going on so far and so deep. So we don't have Superman's ears. We don't have X-ray vision. We don't have got none of that. We all can speculate what the media says. And so, wow. I really don't know what I can say other than to say that I wish Doug Peterson the best on his future endeavors, because at some point he's going to coach again. He has a pretty good coaching record, 42, 37, and 1. That's not a bad coaching record, but it's like you 37, 8, 9, 41, 2. So it's like you 5.5 games away, 5.5 games above 500 for his winning percentage concerned. So, wow. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and end the video because it's going over 23 minutes. So I'm gonna go ahead and end it right quick without any further ado. Peace, and I holla.